Thank you for joining us on Black Investments Matter. I'm Antoine Anderson, and today we're talking about those 3 big federal taxes that come out of everybody's paycheck. Have you ever asked yourself, what are they for? Let's find out together. Federal taxes are the bane of every American's existence, but at the same time, it is what gets our roads paid for. It provides for our national defense. It's supposed to pay for our health care and our Social Security. But let's face it, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Now, there are 9 states that have no state income tax, and we won't touch those. We won't even talk about state income taxes. But what we're going to be talking about are the 3-headed monster that is our federal taxation system, and breaking down what each of those taxes are going for, what they're intended to go for, and why we have 3 separate entities instead of one federal tax. Let's talk about those things. First up is the federal withholding tax. Whenever you pull up your pay stub, if you ever look at it, there are going to be 3 or 4 major taxes that come up. There's 3 federal and 1 state, or you may have some municipalities that also charge you a local or county tax right out of your pay stub. But we're going to focus on the big 3, which are the federal taxes. The first one is the federal withholding tax. The withholding tax pays for everything from our national and defense, our foreign interests. They also cover a multitude of things like your education system. This is where our Department of Education gets its money from, our transportation system and our roads, infrastructure. A lot of those funds are taken directly from each and every taxpayer in the form of the federal withholding tax. So when you have that knowledge, you know where this money is coming from. Every American who earns a paycheck pays that tax. It is by far the largest amount that comes out of your tax, out of all the taxes, and you should know where your money is going so you can have an opinion and figure out, is the government doing what it's supposed to do with your funds? And that's what that first big federal tax is. The next most expensive federal tax that we pay is the OASDI tax, Old Age Survivors Disability Insurance Tax, or Social Security. Now, this one is the most controversial these days because it is the tax that is supposed to provide a safety net for American taxpayers that have worked their entire lives and are supposed to have a little bit of something set aside for their old age, so they're not left destitute and without funds. However, a lot of politics are being played with the Social Security tax. A lot of different interests are being pulled into your tax dollars. Things like immigration, well, it's affecting our Social Security insurance when those migrants, for both legal and illegal, come to this country. It is this source of revenue that is tapped to provide for their housing, provide for their basic needs until they can become, hopefully, tax-paying citizens. But the problem with that is that they've not paid into the system, and it's causing quite the strain when you have American citizens literally living off of the streets because they can't afford their own safety net, and they've paid into the system at some point in time. It has its flaws, but without it, every American that reaches a certain age or have a need would be in dire straits when times get rough. So it's definitely one of the things that we want to kind of repair and refine, but at least knowing where your tax dollars are going will help you have a more informed decision on how we should progress forward. And finally, the tax that brings all the votes out amongst the elderly population and those who are seeking to repeal it whether by abolishing Medicare altogether or by replacing it with a single payer healthcare system, is Medicare. This is one of those taxes that leaves the average American scratching their heads. It is a tax to take care of the elderly, primarily people who are severely disadvantaged or disabled, and they need the medical benefits that this tax covers. However, if you are an able-bodied American who is paying those taxes, there are very few and far between ways to actually access these funds to take care of your own health needs. Meanwhile, you're still paying for your mandatory insurance, whether you're going through the government's plan, which is Obamacare, or if you are lucky enough to have an affordable insurance plan that actually covers, your basic needs. This is not like your dental insurance. These are PPOs or HMOs. You're paying hundreds of dollars in premiums and still not able to cover all of your medical expenses for a single visit, let alone an ongoing illness. In addition to that, you also have the added benefit of paying such high premiums that you have to have something like a flexible spending account or a health savings account to offset those higher costs whenever you are ill. Health injuries are the number one reason why a lot of families go into bankruptcy, especially when you come into the long-term healthcare needs of somebody who has contracted some kind of terminal disease and they need very expensive medicines. And it doesn't seem to help matters much that if by the time you're my age, your 50s, and you pay thousands of dollars into, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into the Medicare system, and you have yet to submit a single claim, and that money is virtually, if we believe our politicians, virtually empty, bankrupt. So, it's time to get an opinion on what you are actually spending your tax dollars on. By far, this is the most controversial of the three, but I think arming yourself with the type of knowledge about what these taxes are for will help us advance the discussion towards repairing and fixing our broken tax system. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. And remember, all money is definitely not good money. Watch how you spend it. I'll talk to you later.